Just when we thought the hits were done for the Colorado Buffaloes in the transfer portal, one more has poured in right before the new year. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the business. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you could join and have fun following along your Colorado Buffaloes because they're going to be active in the next week or so. Dukes of Scoops already said, hey, January 3rd, look out. There's going to be a big one for Colorado. So we'll have to wait and see. But today we're going to be talking about Colorado losing London Merritt to the transfer portal, what that does to the defense, why I'm worried about the defense, and what Colorado will have to do to rebuild the entire front seven, which we already knew to some degree, but London Merritt was one of those key pieces. I'll get to that. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions for the Colorado Buffaloes. Since it's 2026, I'm going to give you 6 New Year's resolutions for Colorado and what they should want to be better at in this new year. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the pressure on Deion Sanders. Is there pressure? Is there not? I feel like some people have different opinions on that. And so I'm going to weigh in on the subject matter. So let's talk about London Merritt. So in somewhat of a surprise, because I thought most of the portal hits had come already. Colorado has now lost 26 players to the portal, and London Merritt became the latest. And he's another huge loss because, quite frankly, there wasn't much to be positive about this season, right? You win 3 games. Every time Colorado loses a player to the portal, a lot of people are like, oh, they sucked anyway. Like, the team was bad. Who cares who leaves? And I get that to a certain extent, right? I do. I'm not delusional. It's like if you go to a restaurant and you get food and it wasn't good, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that restaurant closed. It's like, well, darn. I don't care. I didn't like their food. But you have to admit, there could be a good dish at that restaurant. Just because you didn't like the restaurant as a whole doesn't mean there wasn't 1 or 2 good dishes. And so London Merritt, he was one of the only bright spots for Colorado. True freshman comes in. They flipped him from Ohio State, which was already a win in itself. He played in every game this season. 25 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 1 sack. PFF named him a freshman All-American, and then he also received Big 12 honorable mention. And so the loss is pretty significant because I thought he would sort of be the cornerstone. And I would say probably about a month or so ago, I went through and I listed, I think it was anywhere from 5 to 9 players, maybe 5 to 10, whereas these are the core guys and you cannot lose them. And Colorado has lost every single one of them outside of Julian Lewis, knock on wood, because obviously the portal opens in 2 days, right? Tomorrow's the January 1st. It opens on January 2nd. Now, a lot of people will be announcing destinations January 2nd at 12:01, right? There's been a lot of back channeling. But for Colorado, this is a huge loss because, one, you lose a foundational piece of the future. I know Colorado isn't very high on high school recruits. That's why they bring in around 12 to 15 a year. But they've had relative success with their high school recruits. Omarion Miller hung around for 3 years. Jordan Seaton, barring a surprising transfer portal decision, has hung around for now what will be 3 years next year, right? And he's going to go be a first-round pick. So recruits have worked out well for Colorado. Even the guys that they didn't reap the rewards of. Cormani McClain turned into a really good corner for the Florida Gators this past year. So you have to understand, Colorado, although they don't recruit a lot, they have hit on a good chunk of their recruits. And so having someone who's a multi-year investment who chose to go to Colorado, it's tough losing him, right? Because you lose someone who could help set the culture, and you lose someone who could probably become one of the best pass rushers in America. As a true freshman in Colorado, honestly, this is weird to say, but their pass rushers, their edges, Arden Walker and Keaton Wade, they were both really solid. So I don't think we always got to see the most or the best of London Merritt, but I still think he had a really, really stout, solid freshman season. His best game came against BYU. According to PFF, I'm just going to talk about his pressures and all that. He had some of the highest pressure rates on the team. If you're excluding the guys who barely played any snaps, London Merritt was absolutely locking it down. He had on the year, and I'm This is on what is it? 100 and sorry, I'm trying to count his snaps. 149 pass rushing snaps. He was pass rush. He was got a rush on 98% of the time, right? And pretty big deal. 61 pass rush grade, 14 total pressures, or no, excuse me, 14. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 11 hurries. Sorry, that was doing math in my head. And then he also had a win percentage of 11.5 in one-on-one situations. And that probably would have improved, quite frankly. I think he probably came on. I would say he mostly came on during obvious passing situations. So it was like, okay, the lineman knows what's coming. But big loss, right? Because now if you're looking at Colorado, this is what their defensive line looks like. You've now lost every single player on the team who recorded a sack this past season, which granted, they only had 13 sacks, right? So it's not like they're losing the 85 Bears or whatever it is. The 86, I think it's 85. I was born in 99, so I don't know. But you guys all know who I'm talking about. The 85 Bears, I believe. Someone comment that below. Is it the 85 Bears that I'm talking about? The really good defense? It's not like you're losing the fearsome foursome. Like, you're losing a defensive line that had some bright moments, but didn't really live up to the billing. But zero returning interior defensive linemen, and then you're losing every player that had a sack. That is a lot, right? Let me tell you right now, that is a lot of people to lose. Colorado, quite frankly, is going to have to hit the portal hard. They're going to have to hit the portal hard at a position that, quite frankly, they've been hit or miss on. Defensive line has not been an easy get for Colorado. It's not an easy get for anyone, right? Because the best defensive linemen in the portal, they all want to go to schools that are contending right now. And for Colorado, they have sort of a hard sell. It's like, hey, we think we could contend, but we also don't know. Like, I'm going to go through the transfer portal last year, and we'll just go defensive tackles, because I do think we'll go defense tackles, and then we'll do edge rushers, because I feel like that'll be pretty representative of how things will unfold. But last year, the top defensive lineman in the portal was not Jaheim Otis. It was at one point, but Damon Wilson went to Missouri. Patrick Payton, goes to LSU. David Bailey goes to Texas Tech. Prince Will Emmanuelian, I believe is how you say it. Probably butchered that. Ole Miss. Keyshawn Silver, USC. Romello Height, Texas Tech. James Williams, who's pretty solid, Florida State. Will Helt, Clemson. Elo Modizier, I believe is how you say it, Georgia. Right, Bernard Gooden, LSU. David Blay, Miami. Right, Murad Watson, Texas. Like, Jaheim Otis was ranked as a 16th best defense lineman in the portal, edges included, and he went to Colorado. Right, so Colorado landed a top 20 defensive lineman, if you will, and they missed on him. Right, so it's not just easy to go out and get these top tier guys. And the hard thing for Colorado is they don't have the money yet. I think the new athletic director will help step up their spending and help them get in the mix more. Like, Tafik Bayard, he reportedly wants $500,000, right? That's what Neely said. That's the number we're riding with. I saw a report today linking him to Ohio State, Oregon. I think it was Texas Tech. Like, some of the biggest spenders in college football are going after Tafik Bayard, right? So there's always going to be a few guys that they lose that way, but they are going to be able to afford sort of these fringe guys. Like, I'm seeing in the comments right now, apparently London wanted somewhere in the millions. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone on this Colorado roster outside of Jordan Seaton and Julian Lewis is worth millions for Colorado. And even Omarion Miller, quite frankly, because it's easier to replace a wide receiver than it is a quarterback. It's easier to replace a freshman edge rusher who is pretty good, but we didn't see the best of him. But I mean, if you could afford them, you would like to, right? But sometimes I think, and some of these Colorado kids will learn this the hard way, and so will a lot of these transfer portal guys. There's, I think, what is it right now? The last time I checked, there was nearly 3,000 guys in the transfer portal. And nearly 2,000. There's 1,500 according to On3. That's expected to increase. Last year there was over 4,000. Of the 4,000, only 68%, I say only, but 68% of them found a home. So that means thousands of players are not going to find a home. And I think a lot of guys are going to learn that lesson the hard way, where it's like, hey, maybe always chase. So tough to see London Merritt go. For Colorado, I mean, you can't pay for everyone, right? That's just the way the land, the way the business works. You can't afford to pay everyone top dollar because not everyone's worth top dollar. Like if London Merritt was like, hey, I want $3 million, I'd be like, okay, thanks for your 1 year. It was nice knowing you. But if London Merritt was like, hey, I would like a raise. Like, say he gets paid $250K and he wanted $400K. I'd be like, okay, that we could work with, right? But some of these guys are getting bad advice. I'm not saying London Merritt is, but that's going to be a common theme in the portal this year and until they fix the portal in general. So huge loss in terms of potential, huge loss in terms of the entire defense line as a shot. But if you're Colorado, you sort of have to, that you're going to have to hit the position hard anyway, right? So this doesn't change much. That being said, the Buffs are going to have to bring in a 55-man class. We'll see how that works out because obviously I don't know if there's 55 starting. You only need, I say only, but you're going to need around 25 starting caliber guys, 30 starting caliber guys. The rest are going to be depth pieces, but easier said than done. When we come back, I'm going to give you my 6 New Year's resolutions for the Colorado Buffaloes in 2026. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. If you open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour, it always brings something new, whether it's boosts, bonuses, or surprises. The timing is perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to the Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. If you love Locked On Buffs as much as I think you guys do, make sure to become a make sure to join our Everydayer Club. The link is below in the comment section if you don't want to, or if you miss it here. But if you go to lockedonbuffs.supercast.com, you could get your favorite show ad free. You could also join a private Discord where we could talk about questions where it's like, hey, let me know what you think about this, or like, hey, what's the latest on this, or like maybe you want to ask Jordan Dominic a question. You can, former Colorado Buff, and I could be like, hey, Jordan, the people have a question for you. So that's what we're doing over there in the Discord. It's going to be really fun. So make sure to join. Again, it's lockedonbuffs.supercast.com. Go check it out. $5 a month, or if you pay yearly, it comes out to $4.17 a month. Let's talk New Year's resolutions, right? We all have them. We all want to improve our physical health, our mental health. We all want to maybe pick up a sport or pick up a hobby, right? Maybe you want to knit. Maybe you want to get better at golf, shave off some strokes. Maybe you'll want to, I don't know, get a cat, whatever it is. Whatever your New Year's resolution is, we all have them. And I think Colorado should probably have a few of them. And I'm just going to run down the list of the most important, I would say, resolutions, I think, for Colorado. For starters, I think they really, really, really need to invest in high school recruiting. And I think that comes with Brennan Marion. I think hiring Brennan Marion was a tremendous hire by Deion Sanders, probably my favorite move of his entire tenure in Boulder. That being said, the one thing that makes Brennan Marion special outside of his really weird and creative offense, I mean, it's a great offense. I'm not saying weird in a bad way. It's just, it looks weird because you just don't see normal guys going, or you don't see guys normally lining up that way. But the one other thing that Brendan Marion is a savant at is recruiting, right? He has recruited some of the biggest names. He has attracted some of the best talents. He has developed some of the best talents, right? Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison. Like he has worked with some really good players. Ricky White from UNLV. He turned Haj Malik Williams into a star quarterback at UNLV. He turned Matthew Sluka. He made Matthew Sluka look really good, and Matthew Sluka was the backup at James Madison this year. So just room for thought, right? You need to invest in recruiting. And I think with the new athletic director and a lot of his contract being based off how much he fundraises, or not his contract, but his bonuses being based off how much he fundraises. I do think Colorado is going to see an uptick in high school recruiting, and I think they need to fully invest in that. And I think that's partially why they brought Brendan Marion in. It's like, hey, our coach doesn't really want to do it. Our staffers, for the most part, don't do it. So go for it, right? Go crazy. Offer as many people as you want. He has an eye. He has a knack for finding talent. So recruit well. Recruit really well. And I think that's New Year's resolution number one. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Let's get specific. If I'm Robert Livingston, I'm looking at how I call my defense. And Robert Livingston's whole thing, and I thought this is why he would work sort of every year. And maybe it just didn't work out because Colorado didn't have the talent this year on defense. But the one thing that Robert Livingston said is he's never going to make guys play in a scheme that he like draws up, right? He's not gonna be like, okay, we're a 4-3 team, and if you're not able to fit that mold, hit the road, right? He said day one, didn't come in with the playbook, and just sort of said, you know what? We're gonna figure out what we're good at, and then we'll do that. And guess what? When you have a Heisman winning caliber, I mean, he was not caliber, he was the Heisman winning wide receiver / corner and Travis Hunter, who could play corner and who could lock down one side of the field. It makes life pretty easy. So Colorado was able to run a lot of man. They had a really good pass rush. BJ Green and all those guys, they were leading the Big 12 in sacks, right? So I think Robert Livingston is, his New Year's resolution is probably adjust better, I guess, like stay out of man if it's not working for your corners. Like I don't think, even if DJ McKinney returns, I don't think whatever group of corners Colorado gets, and I could be surprised, but who knows? I don't know if they should be fully man, right? Colorado played some of the most man in the country. I don't know if that's what they should be doing year in and year out. So that's number two. Number three, this one goes to Coach Prime. And I think a lot of people get really sensitive whenever we talk about Coach Prime. But that being said, I think Coach Prime needs to improve his game management. I think his game management alone cost Colorado a couple of games over the past few years, right? I think it cost, even in games they won, there was moments where it's like, that was a disaster. For instance, we'll go back multiple years. USC, what was that, 2023? Yeah, when they were still in the Pac-12, I guess. Colorado had 0 timeouts, and they were, quite frankly, just like acting like they had 72 timeouts, right? They were trying to stage a comeback. They were down, what was it, 14 or something? And they're running the ball. They're taking 30 seconds to get the play call in. Georgia Tech this year, Deion Sanders wasted time, or not wasted timeouts. He didn't use any timeouts and just wasted like 2 minutes of action. So Colorado had to end up settling for a Hail Mary with a few seconds left when they could have called a timeout, got everyone composed. And who knows, if Colorado wins that Georgia Tech game, do they do that weird thing with the quarterbacks? I don't think so. I don't. I think maybe they ride with Caden Salter, and maybe you start off 4-0 as opposed to starting off 2-2, and who knows what the rest of the season looks like. So that's the third one, right? You got to recruit. You got to switch to adjust your defense better, I think, for Robert Livingston. If you're Deion Sanders, you have to get better at time management. If that revolves around hiring someone who, like Notre Dame has an analytics guy, and I mean, you as a head coach, you probably don't want to need to rely on someone to be like, hey, you're not doing this right. But if Deion Sanders needs to hire a game management guy, if that's where we're at, then do that, because he cannot manage a game right now. And that could be something he improves upon. Don't know. But right now, he's not so good at it. Next resolution: commit to the run game. Now, this one's almost like my resolution of saying, you know what? I'm gonna work out more. Like I signed up for a bunch of CrossFit classes. Like I know I'm gonna do that, right? You hired Brendan Marion, you know you're gonna run the ball, right? Sac State was one of the best running teams in the country. UNLV, really good at running the ball, right? Last year, Sacramento State had 3 running backs who rushed for 500 yards or more. Colorado hasn't had a 500-yard rusher, I think. They haven't had someone rush for 100 yards in a game since 2021 or 2022. I think it was 21. They haven't had someone eclipse 500 yards rushing under Deion Sanders, right? So the run game has been very weak, and Brendan Marion's going to fix that problem. We know this, but hey, until I see it, it's got to be a resolution. So that's number 4. Number 5, Deion Sanders, whether it's this year, like this offseason, we see a few more coaching changes because I feel like there's a couple more up the sleeve, or next year, Deion Sanders needs to look around and evaluate if he has the right people around him in terms of coaching, in terms of just people, right? Because I think, right, you have a certain coach who's at a beauty pageant. It was in like Vietnam or Japan or something when Colorado's losing its entire defense line to the portal. You have another person who's really close to the program sort of mocking a player who is going to probably end up playing in the playoff next year, and Tawfiq Bayard, right? So, and making one of the other people that we were talking about here essentially made fun of a recruit that Colorado had just offered by saying like, oh, Texas football is not real, stuff like that. So make sure you have the right people around you. I'm all about helping out friends, right? I think if you have the ability to change the lives of your friends or give them opportunities that no one else can, obviously it's hard to not do that, right? If you're a millionaire and you're just like, you know what, this guy's always been good to me, I'm gonna hire him. He knows what he's talking about. Sometimes other people, right, and even someone who's no longer with the program, who is reportedly sabotaging the program by not recruiting certain people, right? Sometimes other people are willing to gamble with your reputation. They're willing to gamble with, I guess, your legacy. And if you're Deion Sanders, you just got to make sure you have the right people around you on your coaching staff, in your group of support. That's all I'm going to say there. And then lastly, number 6, establish a culture. For too long now, Colorado has said, we don't care about culture. Culture, you don't need it. Deion Sanders has said, hey, I played on teams where the quarterback hated the wide receivers, or the wide receivers hated the quarterback when we were still good. And it's like, yeah, if you're talking about Michael Irvin and whoever else, that doesn't count, right? If you're talking about Jerry Rice and someone else, that doesn't count because those were generational talents, right? If you're Deion Sanders, and it starts in the offseason, I know he had cancer last offseason, so he wasn't present. But I think Brendan Marion will probably help this in a big way, but you need to stop pretending like, hey, I don't care about the culture, right? Culture doesn't matter, because it does, right? If culture didn't matter, you wouldn't be yelling at your players after a top 25 win against Iowa State saying, hey, you guys are quitting. Hey, you guys are lazy. You would not be accusing players on your team of quitting. You would not be calling guys cats because they gave up. That's a culture thing, right? You do not have a strong enough culture to keep guys focused. Your best player, Omarion Miller, late from the bye week. You do not have a strong enough culture for him to fear or care about punishment. Same thing with Joseph Williams. He was also late. You do not have a strong enough culture to prevent these things from happening. You do not have a strong enough culture to prevent guys from quitting. You don't have a strong enough culture to prevent guys from sort of, I guess, not following your rules. And you don't have a strong enough culture to deal with adversity. And that was something I talked a lot about in 2023 when they lost, was it 6 games in a row, where it was just like every game they lost, you could just see the moment they broke, right? Colorado has been mentally weak. Oh, outside of the 9-4 season, Colorado has been one of the mentally weakest teams in college football. That's a culture thing. So those are my New Year's resolutions for the Buffs. You guys comment below if you could give a New Year's resolution. What would it be? When we come back, we're going to talk about pressure on Deion Sanders and the Buffs this off season. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Gametime. Now, if you want to go to the World Cup, if you want to go to the college football playoff, there's no better place to get your tickets than Gametime, because there's tailgates, there's packed stadiums, and there's being right in the middle of it. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting the tickets and making sure you get to those things, that part is frustrating, right? There's long queues, there's logins, and there's prices jumping where all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's now $100 more than I thought. Well, now with Gametime. That's why Gametime gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I love being able to view my seat before buying it, so I know exactly what I'm getting. The app is incredibly easy to use. I went from browsing to buying a ticket in just minutes, and you know your prices. There's all the fees are included up front, so there's no surprises when you're checking out. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets. Gametime, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk pressure. I talked about this a little bit yesterday with Spencer, and I just feel like people are missing the point, so I'm bringing it up again. This year, this offseason, I think there's a lot of pressure on Deion Sanders, right? I think everything that has happened has put pressure on him. Deion Sanders not wanting to recruit has put pressure on him because now you have no sort of depth to backfill your roster with. Colorado bringing in a new AD. Obviously, Rick George decided his contract was up. It was always going to happen. But the new AD is going to come in, and he's probably going to have a conversation with Coach Prime and be like, you know what, dude? Like, you're great. We love you. What you've done for the program. But if it doesn't work, like, you cannot do this, right? It's called the definition of insanity. I'm sure we all know it. The pressure for Deion Sanders is also ramping up because, like, hey, another 3-9, another sub 500 season. Can Deion Sanders really survive that? Like, I think he'll get another year after that, but he's going to be on the hot seat. Like, if Colorado struggles again next year, right? I think one of the hardest parts about, or one of the most unfair things about Deion Sanders is being as famous as he is. Everyone holds him to a higher standard. So you can't just be a Pro Football Hall of Fame corner who's done a lot of great things for a lot of people and just ride that wave. Like, you have to succeed if you keep saying things that you're going to do. So I think the pressure, like, he's not going to lose his job this year. I'm not saying that at all, but him and his staff do need to nail the transfer portal. They do. It's going to be the defining sort of piece of their roster. Like, if the portal class is good and they hit the right guys and they sort of develop, they could be good next year. They could contend. Great. If they whiff on the portal class and they struggle again next year, things could get ugly. So that's what I'm saying when I mean there's pressure. I think there's pressure to succeed now. Otherwise, it makes his future uncertain. So I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Also, go check out or go join the Everydayer Club. If you don't miss an episode every single day and you want members-only Discord access, go to the link I said earlier. It's in the comment section below. Again, that's Locked On Buffs. Excuse me. Let me confirm. I don't want to mess up my own link. LockedOnBuffs.supercast.com. So appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I'm Kevin Borba. Hope all of you have a safe New Year's Eve, and I will see all you guys in 2026.